A piece of paper, a marriage certificate, and I became the loser husband of the Ice Queen CEO, Claire Prescott. Everyone laughed at me for living off my wife. She treated me with a frosty indifference, telling me to get out on a daily basis. But when her company was on the brink of bankruptcy, pushed to the absolute edge, I made a single phone call. Claire, I was thinking maybe I could sleep in the bed tonight. Before I could finish, Claire's ice-cold voice cut through the door of her home office. Get out. You got it. I scrambled up from the floor, grabbing my small pillow and thin blanket before rolling out to my usual spot on the floor by the bedroom door. Married for 3 years, and I'd slept on the floor for 3 years. My name is Ryan Sterling, and I'm the most despised son-in-law of the Prescott family. My wife, Claire Prescott, is the renowned Ice Queen of Sterling City, head of the multi-billion-dollar Prescott Enterprises. And me? I'm her full-time house husband. My salary is $3,000 a month, paid by her mother, my mother-in-law, Laura. Right now, the villa's grand living room was brightly lit, but felt as cold as a tomb. My mother-in-law, Laura, sat with her legs crossed, her manicured nails tapping rhythmically on the mahogany coffee table. Ryan, is the floor clean? Don't you know we have an important guest coming today? Her voice was sharp, her disdain for me on full display. I leaned on the mop and nodded. It's clean, Mom. Oomph. A grown man who does nothing but hang around a kitchen all day. You've brought nothing but shame to the Prescott name. As she spoke, she turned to Claire, who was descending the grand staircase. Claire, just look at this pathetic excuse for a man. And then look at Wesley. He just got back from his MBA at Stanford, already a VP at Thorne Industries, and he brought such a generous gift to see you today. Wesley Thorne, heir to the Thorne Industries fortune and Claire's #1 admirer. He was dressed in a tailored designer suit, his hair slicked back, holding an exquisite gift box with a self-satisfied smirk. Laura, you're too kind, he said, his eyes glued to Claire. Claire and I were classmates at Columbia. It's only natural I'd come to visit. The greed and possessiveness in his gaze were practically spilling out. Claire's expression was a perfect mask of indifference. She gave a faint humph and walked straight to the sofa, not even gracing Wesley with a second glance. Wesley, unfazed, sat down next to her and opened the gift box. Claire, I acquired this for you at an auction in Monaco. The heart of the ocean. Only you are worthy of its brilliance. A massive blue diamond necklace sparkled dazzlingly under the lights. Laura's eyes widened in awe. My God, this must be worth tens of millions. Wesley, you're too thoughtful. Wesley shot me a smug look, his eyes screaming. See that, loser? This is the difference between you and me. I said nothing, just kept my head down and continued mopping. They had no idea that 3 years ago, before my master sent me down the mountain, he casually tossed me a sack full of these shiny rocks. He told me to skip them across a lake to practice my internal strength. I found them too heavy and ditched the whole bag halfway. Claire didn't even look at the necklace. She rubbed her temples, a weary look on her face. Wesley, thank you for the thought, but I can't accept this. I have work to do. She stood up, ready to leave. Claire. Wesley jumped up, blocking her path. I know Prescott Enterprises has a cash flow problem. If you agree to be with me, I'll convince my father. Thorne Industries will immediately inject $500 million to help you through this crisis. The air in the room froze. Laura's face went pale. Claire's body went rigid. She spun around, her eyes as sharp as daggers. You've been investigating my company? Wesley shrugged, looking like he held all the cards. Claire, it's an open secret in the business world. I'm just concerned about you. Say the word, and the Prescott's crisis becomes the Thorne's business. His words were a thinly veiled threat, a crude transaction. $500 million for her. Claire's lips pressed into a thin, hard line, her chest heaving. She, a woman of such immense pride, was being backed into a corner. I set the mop aside and walked over. Honey, don't listen to him. It's just $500 million. You don't have to sell yourself. My voice wasn't loud, but in the silent room, it was crystal clear. Every eye turned to me. Wesley looked at me as if I just told the world's funniest joke and burst out laughing. Ha ha, Ryan, you're a freeloader living on a $3,000 monthly allowance. Do you even know how much $500 million is? Who do you think you're kidding? Laura was trembling with rage, pointing a finger at my nose. You, shut your mouth. This is not your place to speak. You useless piece of trash, get out of my sight. Claire frowned, her eyes filled with disappointment and annoyance. Ryan, can you please not make things worse? In their eyes, I was just a clueless clown. I ignored them, looking only at Claire, and said with utter seriousness, trust me, I'll take care of the money. You'll take care of it? With what? Wesley was laughing, so hard tears were forming in his eyes. by cooking a few extra dishes in the kitchen. Laura was so furious she almost threw her water glass at me, but she restrained herself in front of Wesley. She pointed to the door and shrieked, "Get out! Get out of this house right now! I never want to see you again." Claire closed her eyes, a deep sense of powerlessness washing over her. She probably felt that marrying me was the greatest humiliation of her life. I didn't get out. I walked over to Claire and picked up her phone from the coffee table. She stared at me, stunned. In front of everyone, I unlocked it. Her passcode was her birthday, something I'd memorized long ago. I opened the keypad and dialed a number I knew by heart. The phone rang only once before it was answered. A respectful, elderly voice came through the line. "Sir, you finally called." The title made Wesley and Laura freeze for a second. I ignored them and spoke calmly into the phone. "Mr. Cole, it's me. Sir, your orders?" The man on the other end, the man I called Mr. Cole, sounded like he was suppressing a great deal of excitement. "Prescott Enterprises in Sterling City. It's my wife's family business," I said succinctly. "They seem to be in a bit of trouble. Take care of it. I don't want my wife to be bothered by such trivial matters." "Prescott Enterprises?" Mr. Cole paused. Then his tone became incredibly solemn. "Sir, rest assured. I understand completely. 3 hours, no, 1 hour. I guarantee all of Prescott Enterprises' troubles will vanish. And as for the vultures circling them, I will make them understand the meaning of regret. Right? Don't make too much of a scene. Keep it low-key." "Yes, sir." I hung up and placed the phone back in Claire's hand. The living room was deathly silent. Wesley and Laura were staring at me like I was a lunatic. "The act. Keep it up," Wesley said, breaking the silence with a slow, mocking clap. "Ryan, it's a shame you're not in Hollywood." "Mr. Cole, taking care of it? Who do you think you are? The richest man in the world." Laura snapped out of her daze, pointing at me, speechless with rage. "Crazy. He's completely insane. How did our family end up with a madman like you?" Kevin Prescott, Claire's younger brother, a college kid, piped up from the side. "Bro, you been watching too many movies? That trick doesn't work in real life." Only Claire didn't mock me. She was staring at me, her icy eyes holding an expression I couldn't decipher for the first time. It was confusion, curiosity, and a sliver of something she herself hadn't noticed. An absurd glimmer of hope. She had no idea that the Mr. Cole I spoke of was Arthur Coleman, the man who helmed Apex Global Capital, the largest investment firm in the world. 3 years ago, he was on his deathbed, and the world's best doctors had given up. I came down from a mountain and saved him from the brink of death with 3 silver needles. This little problem was nothing more than a flick of his finger. I didn't explain. I turned, picked up the mop, and went back to cleaning the floor as if that phone call was just a casual chat. "Fine. Fine. Fine." Wesley laughed, his face contorted with anger. "I'll just wait and see how you, the loser, are going to solve this. Claire, I'll give you 1 night to think it over. I want your answer tomorrow morning. Otherwise, don't blame me for what happens next." He shot me one last hateful glare and stormed out. Laura chased after him, apologizing profusely. "Wesley, please don't be angry. Don't lower yourself to his level." The living room emptied, leaving just the family. Claire's grandfather, Theodore Prescott, the rock of the family, who had been sitting quietly in a high-backed, leather wingback chair with his eyes closed, slowly opened them. He glanced at me, his gaze deep and knowing, then said to Claire, "Claire, come with me to the study." The two of them went upstairs. After seeing Wesley off, Laura returned and unleashed a torrent of verbal abuse on me. "You're a curse. Good for nothing. Wesley was our only hope, and you ruined everything. If the company goes bankrupt, I'll hold you responsible." I didn't say a word. I finished mopping, went back to my spot on the floor outside the bedroom, and lay down. I could still hear Laura's furious cursing from the living room, mixed with the sound of Kevin's video games. This was my home, a place where, aside from Grandpa, no one gave me the time of day. I closed my eyes, ready for sleep. I don't know how much time passed before I heard footsteps on the stairs. It was Claire. She walked over and stood above me, looking down. Moonlight streamed in from the window, casting a cold, silver glow around her. "Ryan." Her voice was a little hoarse. "Who are you?" I opened my eyes and looked up at her. In the moonlight, her face was exquisitely beautiful, but the coldness and distance in her eyes could freeze hell over. "I'm your husband," I said with a grin, showing all my teeth. Her brow furrowed even deeper. "Don't play games with me. That phone call, what was that about?" "Oh, a friend," I said casually. "I helped him out with something small a while back. He was just returning the favor." She clearly didn't believe me. What kind of friend can solve a $500 million problem? Just a friend I met by chance. Claire's gaze turned colder. She thought I was patronizing her, making a fool of her. She took a deep breath, as if trying to suppress some powerful emotion. Ryan, I don't care if you had a breakdown or we're putting on a show tonight. But I'm warning you, the affairs of the Prescott family are not for an outsider like you to meddle in. I will talk to Wesley myself tomorrow. You, just stay out of it and stop embarrassing me. With that, she turned and walked into her bedroom, shutting the door with a loud bang. Despite her composure, I heard the slight tremor in that sound. She was afraid. I sighed and lay back down. An outsider, huh? Fine by me. That night, the light in Claire's room stayed on for a long time. I guess she was tossing and turning, worried sick about the company. Me, I slept like a baby. The next morning, I got up as usual to make breakfast. Oatmeal, pancakes, and a few side dishes. Laura sat at the table with a dark expression, looking at me as if she wanted to eat me alive. Kevin yawned, still half asleep. Claire came downstairs in a sharp business suit, with faint dark circles under her eyes. She had clearly been up all night. She didn't even glance at the table, just grabbed her car keys, ready to leave. Aren't you going to eat something? I asked. She paused, but didn't turn around. No appetite. The company? Her shoulders stiffened. Just then, her phone rang. It was her assistant. Claire answered, her voice tense. Hello, what is it? Did Thorn Industries? On the other end, her assistant's voice was a mixture of tears and unrestrained joy. Ms. Prescott. Ms. Prescott. It's incredible news. The best news. What? Thorn Industries. Thorn Industries has withdrawn all their hostile takeover bids. Not only that, but the major clients we lost to them, they're all calling, begging to work with us again. They're even offering a 10% profit increase. And the banks that were demanding repayment yesterday, this morning, the bank presidents called personally. They've not only extended our repayment period, they want to offer us an additional $3 billion interest-free loan. Ms. Prescott, we're saved. The assistant's words, broadcast through the phone, were heard clearly by everyone in the living room. Laura's mouth fell open, her chopsticks clattering to the floor. Kevin was wide awake now, his jaw on the floor. Claire's hand, holding the phone, was trembling slightly. She stood at the entrance, her back to us, silent for a long, long time. Then, she slowly turned around. Those eyes, frozen for 3 years for the very first time, landed squarely on me. And in them was a tidal wave of shock. It was subversion, disbelief, the look of someone whose entire worldview had been shattered to pieces. I was just walking out of the kitchen with a plate of pancakes, and I smiled at her. Honey, breakfast is ready. See? I told you it was a small thing. You? Claire's lips moved, but no words came out. Her mind was a chaotic mess. A $3 billion interest-free loan? Thorn Industries backing down? Clients begging to come back? All of this happened right after my absurd phone call. A coincidence? There was no such thing as a coincidence this insane. Laura had processed it too. She pointed at me, her voice trembling with disbelief. It was you? It was really you? I gave a non-committal shrug and put the pancakes on the table. Mom, let's eat before it gets cold. Tell me, who are you? Who did you call? Her grip was surprisingly strong, her nails digging into my flesh. I frowned slightly. Mom, you're hurting me. Just then, Grandpa Theodore came down the stairs, leaning on his cane. Laura, that's enough. His voice was quiet, but it held an authority that couldn't be questioned. Grandpa sat down at the table, glanced at me, and then said to Claire, Claire, you sit down too. Whatever it is, you eat first. As if all her strength had been drained, Claire unsteadily made her way to the table and sat down. It was the most surreal breakfast ever. No one spoke. The only sound was the faint clinking of silverware. Laura and Kevin kept stealing glances at me, as if they were looking at a ghost, while Claire kept her head down the entire time, lost in thought. After breakfast, I cleared the table as usual. Claire didn't leave for the office right away. She sat on the sofa, watching my back with a complicated expression. Then, the doorbell rang. The housekeeper answered it to reveal an elderly man in a sharp suit. His hair was gray, but he was full of vigor. When Claire and Laura saw him, they froze. Mr. Coleman. The visitor was none other than the chairman of Apex Global Capital, Arthur Coleman. A legendary figure whose every move could cause tremors in the Asian financial world. Laura scrambled to her feet, her face plastered with a sycophantic smile. Oh, Mr. Coleman, what a surprise. Please come in. Arthur Coleman didn't even look at her. He walked straight past her, and under the shocked gazes of everyone present, he stopped in front of me as I was washing dishes in the kitchen. Then he faced me, and with the utmost respect, he bent at the waist into a perfect 90-degree bow. Sir, I'm here to report. Boom. It was as if a bomb had gone off in the living room. The smile on Laura's face froze solid. Kevin's game console slipped from his hands and crashed to the floor. Claire shot up from the sofa, her pupils constricting violently. She stared at the man who was a living myth in the business world, now bowing like a schoolboy to the man she considered her loser husband. The scene completely shattered her reality. She never imagined that not only did I know Arthur Coleman, but that Arthur Coleman would address me with the honorific, Sir. I wiped my hands on a towel, turned, and helped him up. Mr. Cole, I told you, there's no need for such formalities in private. Sir, you saved my life. The courtesy is not optional, Arthur insisted, his reverence absolute. I shook my head with a helpless smile and led him to the sofa. How did things go? Everything has been handled, sir, Arthur reported respectfully. As for Thorne Industries, I've had all their overseas operations frozen. They'll be declaring bankruptcy within 3 days. And that boy, Wesley Thorne, he will never work in the business world again. His tone was placid, as if he were discussing the weather. But to the Prescotts, his words were a thunderclap. Forcing Thorne Industries into bankruptcy in 3 days? What kind of power was that? Laura's knees gave out, and she nearly collapsed. She was finally beginning to understand what kind of person she had been mistreating for the past 3 years. Claire's face was ashen. She looked at me, her eyes filled with a sense of unfamiliarity. How many more secrets was this man, with whom she had shared a roof for 3 years, even if he slept on the floor, hiding from her? Well done. Thank you. I nodded. Then I gestured towards Claire. This is my wife, Claire Prescott. Arthur Coleman immediately stood up and gave Claire another deep bow. Mom, I was previously unaware of your identity. Some of Apex's subsidiaries have had conflicts with your company. That was a failure of my management. I hope you can forgive me. Claire flinched at being called ma'am. She took an involuntary step back, waving her hands. Mr. Coleman, you, please don't. She was flustered. The Ice Queen CEO, so decisive and ruthless in the boardroom, was now as tongue-tied as a child who'd done something wrong. Seeing her like this was both amusing and a little heartbreaking. All right, Mr. Cole, sit down. Don't scare her. Yes, sir. Arthur sat, and then took a file from his briefcase, handing it to me with both hands. Sir, this is a strategic investment plan I've drafted for Prescott Enterprises, totaling $3 billion. Additionally, these are the share transfer agreements for 3 of Apex's subsidiaries and 5 of my personal companies. Ownership has already been transferred to your wife. Please consider it a small welcoming gift for her, a $3 billion investment, equity in 8 companies. The numbers were so staggering that Laura's eyes rolled back, and she fainted dead away. The living room erupted into chaos. Kevin fumbled, trying to wake her up, while I walked over and applied pressure to a point on her wrist. Laura's eyes fluttered open. The first thing she did upon waking was look at me and, with a thud, try to drop to her knees. Mr. Sterling. No, son-in-law. It's my fault. I was blind. I'm not human. I caught her before her knees hit the floor. Mom, what are you doing? We're family. There's no need for this. I still called her Mom, but the word made her tremble even more violently. She looked at me with an expression of pure terror and regret. Claire stood off to the side, watching the absurd scene with her lips pressed tightly together. Her entire world had been turned upside down this morning. The man she had despised for 3 years had transformed into a figure so powerful that even Arthur Coleman bowed to him. She felt like a joke, a colossal joke. After finishing his business, Arthur stayed for a short while longer before taking his leave. After he left, the villa fell into an eerie silence. Laura sat on the sofa, not daring to breathe too loudly. Kevin hid in a corner, frantically searching Apex Global Arthur Coleman on his phone, his face growing paler with every result. Grandpa Theodore, however, remained as calm as ever. He took a sip of his tea and beckoned to me. Ryan, come here. I walked over. He took my hand, patting the back of it, and let out a long sigh. My boy, you've been through a lot these past 3 years. I shook my head. Grandpa, it's what I promised my master. 3 years ago, my master, the old man the world knew as a legendary healer, insisted that my worldly ties were not yet severed, that I had a trial to endure. He said I had to enter society for 3 years to temper my spirit before I could achieve true mastery. He arranged this marriage for me, saying the Prescott girl and I were fated and that I had to protect her for 3 years as an ordinary man. He also forbid me from revealing my identity unless it was absolutely necessary. I thought it would be 3 years of coasting, but I never expected the Prescott family to have such deep troubles. Grandpa Theodore nodded. He looked at Claire with a hint of apology. Claire, I made a promise to your master's old friend. Having you marry Ryan wasn't to humiliate you, but to protect you. Ryan's identity is far more distinguished than you can imagine. It was my fault for not making things clear to you. Claire's body trembled slightly. She looked at me, then at her grandfather, and the ice in her eyes began to thaw, replaced by an even deeper confusion. Grandpa, who is he? Grandpa Theodore shook his head. His story is for him to tell you. With that, he stood up and slowly made his way back to his room, leaning on his cane. The living room was left with just the two of us, along with the terrified Laura and Kevin. The atmosphere was suffocatingly awkward. Just then my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered it, and a bright, cheerful female voice, laced with urgency, came through. Ryan, is that you? It's me, Lily. I'll come down the mountain. My master said you were in Sterling City, so I came to find you. Lily? My junior? What was she doing down the mountain? Before I could say anything, Lily fired off a machine gun burst of words. I brought you so many good things. The master's new herbal compounds and that special single-batch whiskey from the mountain. I don't care, you have to come get me. I'm at the Sterling City airport, and if you don't come soon, I'm going to get kidnapped by bad guys. Her voice was loud, and in the dead silent living room, every word was perfectly clear to Claire. Ryan? Down the mountain? Came to find you. Claire's expression, which had just begun to soften, instantly turned to ice, colder than ever before. She looked at me, and the warmth that had just started to melt was flash-frozen into sharp, jagged crystals. I hung up, looking at her with a budding headache. That's my junior apprentice. I can tell. You two sound close, she bit out, her tone so acidic it could curdle milk. It dawned on me then. She was jealous? The realization brought a strange, unexpected flicker of happiness to my heart. It's her first time down the mountain. I should go pick her up, I said. Go ahead. Claire's face was an unreadable mask. She stood up, reverting to the Ice Queen CEO persona. As it happens, I have to go to the office to handle the investment for Mr. Coleman. I don't have time to deal with you. She grabbed her purse and walked out, the click-clack of her heels echoing on the marble floor. Her retreating back looked resolute, but also hurt. I rubbed my nose. Things were suddenly getting a lot more interesting. I drove to the airport to get Lily. At the arrivals gate, I spotted a girl in a white sundress with a ponytail, dragging a massive suitcase and standing on her tiptoes, looking around. She had fair skin, delicate features, and a pair of large, expressive eyes that sparkled with energy. When she saw me, her face lit up, and she waved frantically. Ryan, over here. Her shout drew the attention of everyone around us. With a sigh, I made my way through the crowd. Keep it down. I miss you so much. She darted forward like a sparrow and wrapped me in a huge bear hug. Kids raised in the mountains were always this enthusiastic. I awkwardly patted her back. All right. You're a grown woman now. I'll always be a kid to you, she chirped, finally letting go. She then presented a flask to me like a trophy. Here, the master told me to bring you this. It's that special whiskey. He said you'd be craving it. I took the flask, a warmth spreading through my chest. That old man, always talking about making me suffer down here, but he was still thinking of me. Let's go. I'll take you to your hotel. I helped her with her luggage and drove her to a 5-star hotel that Arthur Coleman had already arranged. Once in the presidential suite, Lily explored like a curious kitten, touching everything. Wow, Ryan, is this the world outside the mountain? It's so big and beautiful, and this bed is so soft. She proceeded to roll back and forth across the king-size bed several times. I watched her, amused by her wide-eyed wonder. Did the master have any instructions for you on this trip? At the mention of business, Lily immediately sat up, her expression turning serious. The master said a powerful foreign group has infiltrated Sterling City. Their target seems to be some kind of ancient medicinal formula, and the clues to it are hidden with the Prescott family. My brow arched. The Prescotts? So he sent you here to help me? Of course. Lily puffed out her chest proudly. The master said my healing skills are already 70% of his, and my knowledge of toxins is even better. I can definitely be a big help. He also said I should follow all of your instructions. I nodded. It seemed the old man didn't send me here to be a freeloader for no reason. These 3 years weren't just a trial. They were a guardianship. All right, I get it. You rest up here. Get over your jet lag. I'll call you if I need anything. I gave her a few more instructions and was about to leave. Ryan, she called out, stopping me. You married? I paused at the door. Yeah. Oh. She looked down, her voice dropping, laced with a barely perceptible hint of disappointment. So, what's my sister-in-law like? Is she nice to you? An image of Claire's icy face and her daily refrain of get out flashed through my mind. I smiled. She's great. Whatever our issues, she was my wife. And in front of others, I had to protect her. Leaving the hotel, I drove straight to Prescott Enterprises. I want to see Claire. For some reason, the image of her jealous expression this morning made me want to see her. At the base of the Prescott Enterprises tower, just as I parked, I saw a familiar figure. Wesley Thorne. His face was bruised and swollen, his suit wrinkled. He looked like he'd been in a fight. Several security guards were holding him back at the main entrance as he screamed like a madman. Claire, get out here, you bitch. You and that loser set me up. The Thorne family won't let you get away with this. A crowd of onlookers had gathered, pointing and whispering. I shook my head. Arthur Coleman worked fast. Overnight, an arrogant air had been reduced to a pathetic stray. I ignored him and went in through a side entrance, taking the elevator straight to the top-floor CEO's office. At the door, Claire's assistant was surprised to see me, but still greeted me respectfully. Mr. Sterling. It seemed the news of Arthur Coleman's visit had already spread through the company. I nodded. Is the CEO in? Yes, she's in a meeting. I was about to knock when I heard a woman's voice from inside, dripping with flirtation and provocation. Ms. Prescott, let's not play games. My organization, Phantom, came to Sterling City for one thing: the longevity formula in your grandfather's possession. Hand it over, and we guarantee Prescott Enterprises remains untouched. Otherwise what? Claire's voice was as cold as steel. Otherwise, it won't just be business pressure. A woman as beautiful as you, Ms. Prescott, it would be a terrible shame if you were to have an accident. My hand froze on the doorknob. My eyes turned to ice. Phantom? The foreign group my master mentioned? They had already made their move. I didn't go in immediately. I leaned against the doorframe, listening. I don't know anything about a longevity formula. Claire's voice was devoid of emotion. If you're here to discuss a partnership, you're welcome. If you're here to threaten me, please leave. Ah, so stubborn, Ms. Prescott, the woman laughed. We have plenty of time and plenty of patience. I hope you'll consider our offer carefully. Oh, by the way, I hear you have a live-in husband. I believe his name is Ryan? Quite the looker, I hear. Tell me, what do you think would happen if he had a little accident? The unspoken threat hung heavy in the air. I listened, a cold smile spreading across my lips. Using me as a threat? You're asking for death. I pushed the door open and walked in. Inside the office, Claire sat behind her desk, her expression glacial. Across from her sat a woman in tight red leather, her figure curvaceous and alluring. She had a cascade of blonde hair and dramatic, sultry makeup. When I entered, her eyes raked over me with amusement. Well, speak of the devil. This must be the legendary loser husband. Seeing me, Claire's eyes widened, and she shot up from her chair. What are you doing here? Her voice held a note of tension she couldn't hide. I ignored her and walked straight to the blonde woman, pulling out the chair opposite her and sitting down. I crossed my legs and looked at her with a lazy smile. I'm Ryan. I hear you were looking for me. The blonde woman was taken aback by my confidence. She hesitated for a moment before recovering with a seductive smirk. Well, hello there, handsome. You got some nerve. The name's Scorpia. I'm Phantom's director of operations in Sterling City. We're very interested in you. Is that so? I picked up Claire's coffee cup from her desk and took a sip. Unfortunately, the feeling isn't mutual. Scorpia's smile vanished. Listen, kid, don't push your luck. I'd advise you to have your wife cooperate. Or else what? I cut her off, slamming the coffee cup down on the desk. The sharp thud echoed in the silent office, and the temperature seemed to drop several degrees. I stared at her, enunciating each word. Or else I will make Phantom disappear from Sterling City. Permanently. My voice was quiet, but each word landed like a hammer blow on Scorpia's confidence. Her smirk was gone, replaced by a look of shock and suspicion. She could feel an overwhelming, dangerous aura coming from me. The absolute self-assurance of someone who was in complete control. This man is no loser. Claire was stunned. She stared at me. This man sitting in her office, confronting a dangerous foreign agent with a level of dominance she had never seen, threatening to wipe them out. In that moment, Ryan was a stranger to her, but a stranger with a fatal attraction. Who are you? Scorpia's voice was strained. I smiled. Who I am doesn't matter. What matters is that no one touches my wife's things. And no one touches my wife. I stood up, walked over to Claire's side, and wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Her body tensed for a moment, but she didn't push me away. I could feel the tension in her muscles begin to ease at my touch. I leaned down and whispered in her ear, "Don't be afraid. I'm here." Then I looked up, my gaze locking with Scorpia's, my expression turning cold as stone. "Take your people and get out of Sterling City. This is your first and last warning. Otherwise, you will face the consequences." Without another glance at her, I took a still-dazed Claire by the hand and led her out of the office. Where are you taking me?" Claire stumbled along, trying to keep up. "Home." Back at the villa, I had Claire sit on the sofa. Laura and Kevin were shocked to see us return together, especially looking so close. Laura was practically tripping over herself to serve us. "Claire, Ryan, you must be thirsty. Here, have some water." Her eyes were now filled with reverence when she looked at me. I ignored her, my attention focused on Claire. "Now, can you tell me what the longevity formula is?" Claire's face was pale. She was silent for a moment before she finally spoke. "It's an ancestral recipe of the Prescott family. It's said to have the power to extend life, maybe even bring people back from the dead. But it's just a legend. The formula itself was lost long ago, with only a few fragmented records remaining. My grandfather has spent his life trying to restore it, without success." I understood. No wonder Phantom was targeting the Prescotts. For those at the top of the world, terrified of their own mortality, such a thing would be an irresistible lure. "Where is it?" "It's locked in a safe in my grandfather's study." "Show me." Claire hesitated, but seeing the determination in my eyes, she nodded. We went to Grandpa Theodore's study. He was practicing calligraphy and didn't seem surprised to see us. "Ryan, you know everything?" "I do." Grandpa put down his brush and sighed. "This thing, it's both a blessing and a curse. I've studied it my whole life, and all I know is that it requires a very special ingredient, the 9-leaf orchid. But this plant only exists in legends. No one has ever seen it in reality." He opened a hidden panel on the wall, retrieving an ancient sandalwood box. Inside was a yellowed sheepskin scroll, covered in incomprehensible symbols and drawings. This was the longevity formula. I only needed one glance to be dumbfounded. This was the thing my master used as a placemat. He said it was just some nonsense he doodled when he was bored. Longevity formula? It was just graffiti. As for the 9-leaf orchid, it wasn't some mythical plant. It was a patch of weeds I grew on the back mountain to feed the rabbits. That old man, just how many people had he conned? I picked up the scroll, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. All this fuss, this massive conspiracy, over a doodle. But Phantom didn't know that. To them, this was a priceless treasure. "Grandpa, Claire, leave this to me," I said. Grandpa Theodore nodded. He had absolute trust in me. Claire, however, was worried. "What are you going to do? These Phantom people are dangerous." "Don't worry." I gave her a reassuring look. "I told you, I'm here." Just then, my phone rang again. It was Lily. "Ryan, it's bad. I think I'm being followed." Her voice was on the verge of tears. My eyes narrowed. "Don't panic. Tell me where you are." "I'm at the mall, near the hotel." They followed me inside. There are several of them, all in black suits. They look terrifying. "Find a place to hide. I'm on my way." I hung up, my face grim. Phantom worked fast. They were trying to grab my junior to use as leverage against me. "What's wrong?" Claire asked nervously. "It's my junior. She's in trouble." I grabbed my car keys and sprinted out the door. Claire froze for a second, then immediately ran after me. "I'm coming with you." Her eyes held a resolve that she herself probably didn't recognize. I floored it, weaving through traffic. Claire sat in the passenger seat, gripping the seatbelt tightly, her face pale but silent. Soon, we arrive at the mall. Following the location Lily had sent, I ran directly to the 5th-floor children's section. From a distance, I saw several large men in black suits lurking suspiciously around the entrance to a kids' play area, and Lily was hiding in a ball pit, only her terrified eyes visible. I gave Claire a look. "Stay here, don't move, and don't make a sound." Then, like a panther, I moved silently toward the men. Claire covered her mouth, her heart pounding her chest as she watched my retreating back. I approached one of the men from behind and chopped him sharply on the back of the neck. He went down without a sound. I dragged him into a nearby fire escape. I repeated the process. In less than a minute, all 4 men were neutralized without alerting anyone. The entire operation was silent and efficient. I walked to the edge of the ball pit and smiled at the trembling Lily. "You can come out now. It's over." When Lily saw me, tears streamed down her face. She scrambled out of the pit and threw herself into my arms, sobbing. "Ryan, I was so scared." It's okay. You're safe now," I said, gently patting her back. A short distance away, Claire watched us, her expression dimming. She watched this strange girl throw herself so naturally into her husband's arms. Meanwhile, she had been married to him for 3 years and had barely even touched his hand. A bitter, unfamiliar feeling welled up inside her. She started walking toward us, the sharp click-clack of her heels echoing on the tile floor. Lily heard the footsteps and looked up from my shoulder, her eyes landing on Claire. She froze, intimidated by Claire's beautiful but cold face, and asked timidly, "Ryan, who is this?" "This is your sister-in-law," I said. Then I turned to Claire. "This is my junior, Lily." The two women's eyes met. Invisible sparks seemed to fly in the air between them. Claire's gaze swept over Lily's tear-stained face and the damp patch on my shirt where she had been crying. Then, she took a pack of tissues from her purse and held it out to Lily. Her voice was still cool, but it lacked the biting frost of before. "Wipe your face." Lily accepted the tissues, looking slightly starstruck. "Thank you, sister-in-law." Claire just grunted in response, then looked at me. "Who are they?" "Phantom's people." Claire's face paled again. Were they after you?" "No, they're after the longevity formula," I said, looking at her seriously. "Claire, this is more complicated than you think. From now on, you and Lily are not to leave my sight." My tone was absolute. For the first time, Claire didn't argue. She simply nodded. It was the first time she had ever shown me complete trust and reliance. A strange feeling stirred within me. I took both women back to the villa. Laura was completely bewildered to see me return with another beautiful young woman, especially one standing next to Claire. When she learned Lily was my junior, her reverence for me deepened. That evening at dinner, the atmosphere was surprisingly harmonious. Laura kept piling food onto Lily's plate, asking after her well-being. Kevin was full of curiosity about his new auntie. Only Claire was quiet, eating her food and occasionally glancing from me to Lily, who was sitting beside me, a complex look in her eyes. After dinner, I brought out the longevity formula scroll. "Lily, take a look at this. Do you recognize any of it?" Lily took the scroll, studied it for a long moment, and then handed it back with a look of disgust. "Ryan, where did you find such an ugly doodle? Is this supposed to be a rabbit? It's a terrible drawing." "Me." "Claire." "Grandpa." The entire family fell silent. The so-called longevity formula that had powerful foreign organizations in a frenzy and had pushed the Prescott family to the brink of disaster was nothing more than a poorly drawn picture of a rabbit. This was beyond absurd. Claire looked at me, her expression screaming, "Are you serious?" I shrugged helplessly. My master can be a bit of a prankster sometimes. Even though the formula was a fake, Phantom didn't know that. They would still try to seize it. If it's a fake, why not just give it to them? Claire suggested. I shook my head. It's not that simple. Once they realize it's a fake, their retaliation will be even more brutal. The best solution is to make them believe they've succeeded in stealing the real thing, and then let them disappear forever with their treasure. A cold glint flashed in my eyes. Claire saw it and shivered. She knew what I meant by disappear. "What's your plan?" "We'll stage a little play." I laid out my plan for them. We needed to create a scenario, a trap that would convince Phantom they had successfully stolen the formula. The key to this trap was Grandpa Theodore. Phantom's intel will have told them that Grandpa has always been the formula's guardian. So, it must be stolen from him while he's protecting it. Grandpa Theodore stroked his beard and nodded. "Fine by me. At my age, getting to be part of one last adventure with you young folks sounds like fun. But that's too dangerous." Claire immediately protested. "Don't worry." I gave her a look meant to calm her fears. "I'll be there. Nothing will happen to Grandpa." The plan was set. We deliberately leaked information that Grandpa Theodore, distraught over the stress of the longevity formula, had been hospitalized. The scroll itself was locked in his private VIP room. To make the act convincing, I had Arthur Coleman arrange for the best private hospital in Sterling City and posted a heavy, visible security detail around the room to make it look like a fortress. With everything in place, all we had to do was wait for the fish to take the bait. That night, the three of us, me, Claire, and Lily, were stationed in the hospital's security monitoring room. Lily was nervous, her hands clenched into tight fists. Claire was just as tense, constantly sipping water, her eyes glued to the screens. I patted her shoulder. "Relax." My hand was warm, the heat seeping through her clothes. Her body stiffened for a second, but didn't pull away. In fact, she leaned just slightly closer to me. It was a tiny movement, but a significant one. My heart skipped a beat, and my hand on her shoulder tightened its grip. 2:00 a.m. A few dark figures appeared on the monitors. They moved like ghosts, avoiding all the cameras and patrols, making their way toward Grandpa's room. Leading them was the blonde, Scorpia. "They're here," I said softly. Claire and Lily held their breath. We watched as they used some kind of special tool to silently open the door and slip inside. A few minutes later, they slipped back out. In Scorpia's hand was the sandalwood box. She opened it for a quick peek, a look of pure ecstasy on her face. They had it. They retreated as stealthily as they had arrived. The entire operation was flawless. They just left. Lily asked in disbelief. "They're gone." I smiled. "And now, the real show begins." I took out my phone and dialed a number. Time to close the net. Scorpia and her team made it back to their secret hideout on the outskirts of the city without any trouble. She had no idea that her every move was being watched. She also didn't know that the sandalwood box she was clutching no longer contained the rabbit doodle. It now held a special gift I had Lily prepare. It was a colorless, odorless neurotoxin that was absorbed through the skin and would slowly vaporize. It wasn't fatal, but for the next month, anyone who inhaled it would feel weak, lethargic, and more miserable than if they had the worst flu imaginable. It was more than enough to keep the Phantom organization occupied for a while. Inside the hideout, Scorpia was on the phone with her superior, bragging. "Boss, I have it. The Prescotts were no match for us." A hoarse laugh came from the other end. "Excellent, Scorpia. You've done well. Bring it to me immediately." "Yes, sir." Scorpia hung up and kissed the box. She could already see her promotion, her future success. However, just as she was about to leave, the main door of the hideout was kicked open. A team of heavily armed tactical officers swarmed in. "Don't move. Interpol, you're all under arrest." The color drained from Scorpia's face. How'd they find this place? To her utter despair, she found that her limbs felt like lead. She didn't even have the strength to lift her weapon. It wasn't just her. Every Phantom agent in the hideout was collapsing, weak and helpless, like lambs to the slaughter. Back in the hospital security room, Claire watched the live feed from the raid and let out a long, shaky breath. She turned to look at me, her beautiful eyes shining with a strange new light. "Is it over?" "It's over." I nodded. "Those police." "A friend of mine," I said. "He works for Interpol." By now, Claire was no longer surprised by my endless supply of powerful friends. She just watched me quietly for a long time before saying softly, "Thank you, Ryan." It was the first time she had ever thanked me with such sincerity, and the first time she had said my name without that cold, distant edge. I smiled. "Don't be a stranger. You're my wife." At the word wife, a faint blush rose on her cheeks. It was subtle, but I saw it. The iceberg was finally starting to melt. The news that Phantom's Sterling City branch had been completely wiped out spread quickly. Thorne Industries officially declared bankruptcy, and Wesley Thorne was taken into custody for multiple financial crimes. The crisis at Prescott Enterprises was completely resolved. Better than that, with the backing and investment from Apex Global Capital, the company's stock price soared, and its market value tripled. Claire Prescott was now the undisputed queen of Sterling City's business world, and I was still the house husband who cooked and cleaned at home. Except now, the way my family treated me had changed completely. Laura treated me better than she treated her own son. "Oh, Ryan, you must be tired. Come, rest. Let me give you a massage." "Ryan, what do you want to eat? Just tell me, I'll buy it." Kevin had become my #1 fan, following me around everywhere. "Bro, can you teach me some of those healing techniques? That was so cool. Bro, do you know any other big shots? Can you introduce me?" Their constant pestering was driving me crazy. Lily stayed in Sterling City for a few more days before my master called her back to the mountain. Before she left, she held my hand, reluctant to go. "Ryan, you have to take good care of your wife, okay? I'll come back down to visit when you two have a baby." She also secretly slipped me a bottle of pills she had made herself, claiming they would enhance marital harmony. I looked at the colorful pills, felt they were probably unreliable, and tossed them in a drawer. The villa returned to its usual tranquility. Well, not quite. The relationship between Claire and me had undergone a subtle transformation. She was no longer cold to me. She was still a woman of few words, but her gaze had softened. She would ask if I was tired. She remembered my birthday. And sometimes, she would watch me from behind while I was cooking. She always pretended she was just passing by, but I knew. This evening, as usual, I picked up my pillow, ready to head to my spot on the floor. Claire's voice came from the bedroom. I turned. She was standing in the doorway, dressed in a silk nightgown, the moonlight tracing the elegant lines of her body. Her cheeks were slightly flushed, and her eyes darted away, not quite meeting mine. The floor is cold. You don't have to sleep there anymore." I froze. What did she mean? I asked cautiously. "Then where do I sleep?" Her face grew redder, and her voice was as soft as a whisper. The bed is big enough. It's not like there isn't room. I felt my heart skip a beat. Happiness had come so suddenly I could hardly believe it. Clutching my pillow, I took one slow step after another toward the bed. She was already lying down, her back to me, her body tense. I lifted a corner of the comforter and slipped in. The sheets smelled faintly of her jasmine perfume. It was intoxicating. I turned on my side, looking at the beautiful silhouette of her back. On a whim, I reached out and gently wrapped my arm around her from behind. Her body instantly went rigid. I thought she would tell me to get out like all the times before. I was fully prepared to be kicked onto the floor, but she didn't. She remained stiff for a few seconds, and then, slowly, her body relaxed. She even shifted slightly, nestling back into my embrace. I felt like my heart was going to pound its way out of my chest. I held her a little tighter. "Claire." I whispered her name again by her ear. This time, she didn't answer, but I felt a cool hand come to rest on my arm, the one holding her. Then, gently, her fingers intertwined with mine. Outside, the moonlight was perfect. Inside, the room was peaceful. I knew that starting tonight, everything was different. My Ice Queen wife. I had finally warmed her up.